Okay, so lately, everyone's been talking about this whole FinOps thing.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
It's for good reason.
It is.
It's not just some,
Yeah.
like, passing tech trend.
More than a buzzword.
Yeah. This is like
It's the real deal.
companies are having to rethink
Absolutely.
money in the cloud because of this.
Yeah. It's about, like you said, like how companies are thinking about the money they're spending on the cloud.
Right. And,
How all works.
It's bridging the gap, right?
Yeah.
Between the tech side.
Yeah, between the tech and business.
The business side.
What are we actually trying to do here with all this technology?
It's like we have this tool.
Everyone has to be on the same page.
Yeah.
From the engineers all the way up to the executives.
Right. And that's what makes this so interesting, is aligning all these different...
Yeah, some priorities, different ways of seeing the world.
Totally different perspectives on how this should work.
And that's why I think,
Yeah.
the FinOps Foundation, which is, an organization completely dedicated to advancing cloud financial management, they created this framework of personas to help us understand these different roles involved in cloud financial management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today we're diving into those leadership personas.
Yes.
We're talking CEOs, CFOs,
That's right.
CTOs, the decision makers.
The bigwigs.
Yeah, the ones calling the shots.
Making the big decisions.
Yeah, and this is important because FinOps isn't just...
Yeah, no, this is not...
It's a software...
This is not a software solution.
Right.
This is a...
mindset.
It's a way of thinking.
Yeah.
It's about the leadership really embracing this new way of thinking about cloud finances.
Like, what's the point of having all the tools if you don't know how to use them?
Exactly.
Right.
You can have the best tools in the world.
Yeah.
But if nobody knows how to use them, what good are they?
Right. Yeah.
Let's start with the CEO.
Okay.
The big picture visionary.
Always thinking about growth.
Oh, absolutely.
And how to make the company succeed.
Right. They see the cloud as this, powerful engine for doing just that.
Like, this is going to...
For growth.
Yeah.
For scale.
This is how...
We're going to catapult us to success.
Exactly.
But, and this is a big but, CEOs often struggle to connect.
Oh, interesting.
Those groundbreaking engineering decisions to actual, business outcomes.
I see what you're saying.
So it's kind of like, imagine trying to explain the value of a high-performance engine to somebody who only cares about the speed of the car.
Right.
It's like, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Right. How do you communicate that to them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the million-dollar question.
If they're only looking at the big picture.
CEOs need to see a return.
Okay.
They need to see a return on investment. And that can be hard.
Especially in the beginning.
Especially early on, when you're first adopting the cloud.
Yeah, because it's like, how do you...
Because the payoff isn't always immediate.
Yeah, how do you measure that?
Yeah, and it's not always, cut and dry.
Right.
They want to see the impact on revenue growth.
Okay.
Improvements in gross margins. They want to look at something called unit cost economics.
Okay.
Which is essentially how much it costs to produce and deliver.
Each thing they sell.
Okay, so they are thinking about the big picture.
Yeah.
But they need to see how this...
They need to see the numbers.
Yeah.
They need to see how this is impacting those numbers.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you've got the CEO, they're thinking big picture.
Big picture.
They want to see the why.
The why behind the cloud spend.
But then you have the CFO.
The CFO.
Who is laser focused.
The guardian of the budget.
On the numbers.
Laser focused on the number.
And making sure every dollar is accounted for.
That the company is not just spending themselves into oblivion.
Absolutely. They don't want to go into the red.
Right.
Because of cloud spending.
So that sounds like a potential recipe for disaster.
Well, it can be. If you're not careful.
If they're not on the same page.
Exactly. You can say that if the CEO is about pushing for growth, the CFO is about making sure that that growth doesn't send the company into a spiral.
Right. Or bankrupt them.
They crave predictability and transparency.
Okay.
Which, let's be honest,
can be hard.
Can be a little tough to find in the cloud.
Yeah, because it does seem like if you're not careful, cloud costs could really get away from you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's so...
The cloud is, by its very nature, very scalable.
Right.
Very flexible.
And you just spin up more servers.
You can spin up more servers. You can spin them down just as easily.
Right. But then that all costs more money.
But it's easy to lose track of what you're spending.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest challenges that CFOs face is...
Yeah. What is that?
That unpredictable nature of cloud spending.
Okay.
It can feel like a black box sometimes.
Right.
You're just kind of throwing money at it.
And you don't really know where it's going.
And you're not quite sure where it's going.
Right.
And it makes it very difficult to budget effectively.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
And then I imagine
How do you...
for them to go to whoever they report to.
Right.
And make that case for that spending.
Exactly. It's really hard to justify those investments to the board.
Right.
When you can't directly link it to tangible returns.
Because they need to show those numbers.
You need to show those numbers.
Yeah.
And if they can't connect the dots between the cloud spend
right.
and the bottom line,
yeah,
it creates a lot of anxiety for
yeah.
CFOs.
Okay, so we've got the CEO,
yeah,
big picture growth, visionary.
The CFO is numbers,
risk management.
making sure that every dollar is spent wisely.
Making sure we don't go bankrupt.
Exactly.
And then you have the CTO or CIO.
Yes.
The tech-savvy strategist.
The one who bridges the gap between those two.
So for all our techies listening.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
This is where it gets interesting.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because they have to live...
They have to speak both languages.
They have to speak both languages.
Yeah.
They have to understand the technology.
Yeah.
But they also have to understand...
the business.
The business implications
yeah.
of the technology.
So they're constantly being pulled...
They are.
In these two different directions.
Absolutely.
Innovate quickly, but keep costs down.
Right. They're under pressure to deliver innovative solutions quickly.
Yes.
But stay within budget.
And it's like those two things seem...
It's a tough job.
Like oil and water sometimes.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
It takes a special kind of leader to navigate those demands.
Right. Yeah.
So how do they do it?
Yeah, that's where...
Where's their secret?
That's where FinOps comes in.
Okay.
And it can be truly transformative.
It's like they're trying to build a rocket ship, but also balance the books at the same time.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And nobody can do that.
It takes special...
It takes a special kind of person.
A special kind of leadership.
Right.
To navigate those demands.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, FinOps could be so transformative because when you implement it effectively, what it does is it provides a framework for communication and collaboration.
So it's less about everyone building their own.
Exactly. It's about breaking down those silos.
Yeah.
And getting everybody speaking the same language.
Yeah, and the languages.
It's the language of cloud costs.
Oh, I got it.
Right. Because once you do that, once everybody understands what's important and how to measure it, that's when you start to see smarter and more strategic decision-making across the board.
So we talked about the CEO wants that clear line of sight. They want to see how this is affecting the business goals.
Yeah.
The CFO wants to make sure that every dollar is accounted for. They're not spending too much.
Right.
What does this do for the CTO or CIO?
Well, you talk about CTOs and CIOs being caught between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
With these competing pressures to innovate quickly, but keep costs down. I think FinOps really gives them more financial empowerment.
Financial empowerment. Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So imagine being able to predict accurately how your cloud costs are going to change as your business grows.
Okay.
No more getting those surprise bills.
Right. Or trying to figure it out.
At the end of the quarter.
After the fact.
Where you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
How did we spend this much?
How did this happen?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of forecasting power that FinOps can bring.
So it's less shooting from the hip.
Less flying by the seat of your pants.
And more
more strategic navigation when it comes to cloud spending.
Okay, so you can actually...
It gives them the information they need.
Make informed decisions.
To make those strategic decisions.
Instead of just guessing... So they can actually go and say, hey, we need to adopt this new technology.
Exactly.
And this is why.
And they can advocate for it confidently because they know.
Because they know how much it's going to cost.
How it's going to impact the bottom line.
And they can prove it.
Yes, and they can show that they can stay within budget.
So it's not this either-er. It's not innovation.
It's not a zero-sum game.
Versus costs.
Exactly. You can have your cake and eat it too.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to steal that one.
You're welcome.
Because it's not...
You can drive innovation.
Just cutting costs.
You can keep the CFO happy.
Right.
It's a win-win.
Because if you're doing it right, you should be able to use those resources better.
Absolutely.
And actually do more with less.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so...
And that actually brings us to a really important point.
Okay.
Which is how do these leadership personas.
Right, because we've talked about them separately.
With their different priorities and their different approaches, how do they all come together?
Right, because we all know
to make FinOps a success.
That even with the best laid plans, if you don't have buy-in from everybody,
you're dead in the water.
It's not going to work.
You're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
That's where the need for a real cultural shift comes in.
Okay.
And that's what's so fascinating to me.
A cultural shift.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we need.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, because, like...
Tell me more.
It's not enough to just, like, have FinOps be this set of procedures or this line item in a budget.
Yeah, it can't just be a checkbox.
It can't just be a checkbox.
Right.
It has to be, like, woven into the fabric.
Into the DNA of how the company operates.
Of the organization.
Right, right.
So it's not just about, okay, we're going to do this new thing.
It's about changing.
It's about changing the way everybody thinks.
Yes, exactly.
From the ground up.
It's about fostering a culture where everyone feels a sense of ownership and responsibility for cloud costs.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because then they're invested.
And that starts with leadership, right?
Okay. So how do you get these leaders who we just talked about all have their different perspective to come together?
Yeah, because you've got all these different personalities, different priorities. How do you create a shared understanding?
Communication.
Communication, okay.
Open, honest, and frequent dialogue.
Right.
I think that's crucial because...
But otherwise, they're just in their own silos.
If leaders are transparent with their teams about what their goals are, what their concerns are, the challenges they're facing, it builds trust.
Right, because a problem shared is a problem halved.
Exactly.
Right.
And when leaders model that collaborative spirit, it trickles down through the entire organization.
So it's top down.
Absolutely.
But then it spreads out.
It creates this ripple effect.
Yeah.
And suddenly you've got engineers talking to finance people.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
Because those are usually different worlds.
Product managers are like brainstorming with cloud architects.
Yeah.
And everybody's working together to figure out how to better manage and optimize that cloud spending.
It's like that wall that usually exists.
Oh, exactly.
Between departments just crumbles.
It breaks down those silos.
Yeah.
And it unifies the team around this common goal.
Okay.
Which is getting the most value from your cloud investments.
This has been so interesting.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
It really is.
It's amazing to me how something as technical as this can create such positive change.
For our listeners who are maybe hearing this for the first time.
What would you recommend?
And want to learn more, where should they go?
I always recommend the FinOps Foundation website.
Okay.
It's a fantastic resource.
Okay.
They have tons of information on there.
Yeah.
Explanations of these personas.
Okay, perfect.
So much good stuff.
And I think the biggest takeaway is that it's not about...
It's not about cutting costs.
Cutting costs.
It's about aligning.
It's about using these resources effectively.
It's about aligning people, processes, and technology.
Right.
To really unlock the value of the cloud.
Yeah.
It's about empowering people.
Everybody.
At every level.
Yeah.
To make smarter decisions.
I like that. That's a great way to put it.
About their cloud resources.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, any final thoughts?
Well, we've explored a lot today.
We covered a lot.
A valuable framework.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember, every organization is different.
Right.
Company culture.
Of course. Yeah.
The industry they're in. Yeah. The personalities of the people.
Right.
All these things influence how these roles play out in the real world.
Yeah.
So, something to think about.
Yeah.
How might these personas adapt and evolve as companies grow and change?
Okay.
What new opportunities?
And this is something to think about.
Challenges might emerge as the world of cloud computing continues to evolve.
That is a great question.
So
keep those questions in mind.
Yeah.
Keep exploring.
Right.
Keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in this exciting world of cloud financial management.
It is an exciting world, and we are living in it.
We are.
So
that's right.
Thanks for joining me.
Always a pleasure.
On this deep dive.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Sounds good.